Let's see. My mic was giving me some problems earlier, so hopefully that is coming through. All right. Looks like. Hello and welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugging Along, we made some improvements to Deed Tracker plugin, and then released an update with Update 44 Crown of Hamât and Update 45 Allies and Adversaries deeds included in all of that. So if you are making progress on end game stuff, then and use Deed Tracker, then you'll want to make sure you pull down that update at some point. Today we're going to try and knock out what I hope is a really simple plugin that was inspired by a conversation on Little Redhead's stream, which is when a character logs on, we're going to check if your subscriber buffs need to be refreshed. If so, we'll pop up a window saying so. And once the user dismisses that window, it'd be nice if we could even unload the plugin. And so that's it. It's just going to be a one-time thing. And I think we'll check to see, are we less than 24 hours from it expiring? Because it's a 2-week thing. So if it's not there at all, or if we're within 1 day of it expiring, just pop up a thing saying, hey, it's time to redo your window. And if we either see that buff refresh, or if the user clicks OK, then just unload ourselves. So that's what we're going to try to do today. And I don't know, maybe we can knock that out in one go, or maybe it's going to take a couple of sessions, but that's the general idea. Anyway, as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. With that said, away we go. So I'm here in, where are we? I think we're on Peregrine with Winda Cranesbill, who of course is a member of VIP Rewards, sitting next to Winda Cranesbill, who does the VIP rewards, and we're going to be working on this. And one reason I chose Winda here is we can see that Winda does not have the VIP subscriber buffs buff. Although, not having it, it's going to be slightly difficult to know what I am checking for. So I may be bipping back and forth between different characters to double check that I do or don't have it. Okay, so we need to write a plugin. What does that look like? Well, the straightforward answer is that when I am writing a plugin, I tend to just look at an existing one and copy it, copy parts that I need from it instead of starting from scratch. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Lord of the Rings Online folder. We're going to go into plugins. We're going to go into Cube plugins. That's me. And we're going to go ahead and make ourselves something new. So this is going to be a new folder. And I think it really is just going to be subscriber buff reminder. I wonder if I can pull up the subscriber buff. Let's see, wiki subscriber buffs, LOTRO. Let's go ahead and there we go. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for this particular thing. And it would be nice if we could do this in all of the languages that are out there for Lord of the Rings Online. So we're going to look for subscriber buffs or anything in any language, really. And we don't even have to care that much about what language we're running in because we're doing such a simple thing. We can just check for all variations of subscriber buffs against each of our active buffs, and that'll be fine. He goes, he says, nice idea for this plugin. Aloha Lizzie says, I'm a returning player, but seems my server is gone. So, depending on which server you were running on, that is either a recently closed world. A bunch of the 32-bit worlds were closed just last week, I think. LOTRO 30-bit, 2-bit servers. So this was announced over in... this announcement comes from August, but the information that this has been coming for a while. I don't know if I'm subscribed to a newsletter or anything by email, but it may have gone out by email as well. This is the information, which is to say the 32-bit worlds that are in this list were recently closed with a period of free transfers allowed of a couple of months, I guess, a month or two, where people could freely transfer from these servers to any of the current 64-bit servers. And so the announcement that they gave, and I think that's explored here, but I'll go ahead and paste it in here so you can review it at your leisure, was that you could transfer characters from these servers to any of the other ones down here, I think. While those servers were up until the end of August, it actually ended up being right after Memorial Day weekend, so last Tuesday where they closed that off. Or after a short delay, their goal is to allow people to transfer things from these servers to that list of 64-bit servers in some period of time. They're hoping to have that. It sounded like on the order of days or weeks, not months or years, when they will transition these into dark servers where you can't log into them, but you can see them in the transfer wizard and move your characters along. So if you were on one of these servers here, then we're in that interstitial period between the servers officially closing and opening back up as dark worlds where you can access them in the transfer wizard. Right now, if you go to the transfer wizard, you're only going to be seeing transfers to and from the 64-bit servers, I think. Let me double check that. Transfers. So we're going to take a look, and right now I have 27 characters on Peregrine. I think some of those might be deleted. I have Mariotic claims 10, Mordor, Glamdring, Orcrist, and Angmar. I have a couple of characters on, but I mostly play on the RP servers, as we can see. So if you were recently playing, you were probably playing on one of these, and you're not seeing them because we're in that interstitial period. But their goal is, I believe, soon to get those back up so that you can move them onto one of the 64-bit servers and get back to playing. In the meantime, if you have an account, you can always start a new character on one of those servers, but I know that's not quite the same thing as having access to those existing characters. So just know that was their stated plan. I don't know if it was stated on here. And then if you were on one of the older characters, they are occasionally opening up those transfers from those previously dark worlds to get from them onto one of the current servers. Otherwise, it says, "Oh my goodness, did Sauron win the war?" No, I think this is a combination of them thinking that this is a right move from a server population standpoint and them being able to have more simultaneous players on a particular server because they've upgraded from 32-bit to 64-bit code for the server side of things. So because they can support more per server, and this, I think, their goal is to help stabilize server populations. They went ahead and pulled the plug here. Aloha says, so much info. My Hobbit mind is spinning. Well, if you want to read through this at your leisure, feel free. If you want to come back and ask more specific questions about it, no problems. But just know that these servers are not meant to be forgotten. They are intending to come back soon, whatever that turns out to be. Okay. Awesome. Thanks for the question. I hope that relieves some amount of despair that you might have felt when you saw the servers weren't there anymore. Okay, so where are we? We are looking for subscriber buffs, and we could do something clever, but I'm just going to call it subscriber buff reminder, or something like that. Subscriber buffs reminder? Subscriber buffs reminder. Name it the same thing as in the game. It'll be nicer for you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make a new text document. This is going to be subscriber buffs reminder.plugin, and this is going to be a .plugin file. What is that? It's basically an XML file of a specific structure. So we're going to come on into, let's say opaque quest tracker. Use that as a model. So we want an XML file that looks something like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy the opaque quest tracker information over, and then we'll start changing it. So this is going to be subscriber buffs reminder. Author cube, that's me. And then, let's see. Why is my camera pointing in a weird direction? Because I spun it. All right, and for a version, this is just going to be like 1.0.0, and could be even less than that. Okay, what is this? This plugin is meant to be, this plugin checks if you have your subscriber buffs, and if they this plugin tells you if you do not have your subscriber buffs, or if it will expire soon. Okay, and then we need to update the package, and this is what file gets loaded first. And oftentimes this is a main. For OPIC Quest Tracker, I just called it OPIC Quest Tracker. I think I'm going to go back to main. That sounds good. So we're going to go ahead and just copy the name of this folder. We don't want to have any copy-paste errors. And let's come into D Tracker. No, sorry. D Tracker, and this was, yeah, .main. Lua says, so you're a Lua coder. Bravo. Well, I certainly try to. That is the required language if you want to write plugins for Lord of the Rings Online. I do want to write plugins for Lord of the Rings Online, so some days I'm better at it than others. Okay, so we have a package. This is the directory within plugins. This is the directory within that, and these are commonly but not required to be the author and then the specific plugin. And this is the Lua file that will be loaded automatically, intending to load everything else. And note that the .lua is implicit. If I type main.lua here, that will not work, and I will be sad. So I'm not going to do that. And then optionally, I could have an apartment. This is the Lua plugins here are using an apartment model where anything in the same named apartment gets loaded into the same conceptual memory space and can interact with each other. I don't know that we need an apartment for this, except that we want to be able to unload it after we're done. So let's go ahead and throw that in there as well. So configuration apartment equals, and this is going to be, just subscriber buff reminder, buffs reminder. Okay, good. That is our plugin file, and so that is how we're going to get into the list of plugins. So let's go take a look at that. So if I refresh this, we can see only what's in that, only the .plugin files that exist reflected here. And we can see that despite the fact that we have no code to load, Lord of the Rings Online does see that we have a plugin called Subscriber Buff Reminders. And if we click load, it's going to say unable to resolve package. Translation, I couldn't find this file. So we probably should supply that file. Okay, so we want to do a couple of things. Let's go ahead and make a main.lua file for us to work with. So main.lua, I'm going to resist the urge to do this in Sublime Text and instead open up our Visual Studio Code window. And we're going to go ahead and, hang on a second, what are you doing over here? Okay, so the Git repository was found in the parent folders. Would you like to open the repository? Nah. No, thank you. Okay, so we have main.lua, which is an empty file. In general, we're going to want to structure this similar to other plugins because that makes life easier for us and it makes it easier for anyone who comes in after us and wants to maybe make changes, improve it, or whatever. So what do we want to do? We want to pay attention to things what are on your character. And we want to pay attention, we want to be able to make a window, so we need access to the UI stuff. So if we came in to dtracker, for instance, and we took a look at its main file, it's going to be massively overcomplicated compared to what we're at. In fact, let's go ahead and rename that to capital M just to match. But we can take some inspiration from some of this. So for instance, he said, pausing to look at something off screen. So, for instance, the common thing to see is importing other things happens at the top of your main file. So in this case, we know we're going to need UI LOTRO because I want to make a window that pops up when appropriate. Okay, sorry. And we know we need to be able to see what's on the local character. So let's go to the API documentation and get a sense of what that might look like. The turbine namespace isn't very helpful for this, but the turbine.gameplay has the local player on which we can get the effects. And that's what we're going to be paying a lot of attention to. So in that case, let's go ahead and make sure we get turbine.gameplay. Now, there's no real harm in importing all of these things, I think, but for now, we'll just go with the ones that we know we actually need. So what is this going to look like? We need to, on startup, look at the buffs on player. If we do not find, well, hang on. On startup, figure out the client language. Using this, using the client language to determine strings, look at the buffs on player. If we do not find a subscriber buffs, or if they have less than 24 hours remaining, then show a window that says so. Until, once the window is closed, or we see an update of the subscriber buffs, unload the plugin. That feels like everything we want to do here. So, if you're following along at home live and are thinking, wait a second, what about X? Go ahead and throw it in the chat there. It's quite possible I will have forgotten something important until I get to it. But that's the basic structure of what we want to do over the next hour or two. So, figuring out the client language. Again, this is a thing where I don't mind making use of stuff I've already done in the past. So we want to go ahead and open dtracker. It does a lot of stuff. It actually doesn't look at buffs very much, but that's okay. We can kind of reinvent the wheel. What we want to do is look at the language. So where does a language happen in this? Okay, great. There's a function called getClientLanguage. Sounds great. I actually don't care what the language is. I just need something to use to access what we're looking to access the right entry in arrays. So turbine.engine.getLanguage. Let's go take a look at that. Turbine.engine. Well, I guess we will need import turbine. So engine get language, I think it was. Yep. And this is going to return a number which represents the language the client is using. Great. I love numbers. Numbers are great. We do not need to do anything more complicated than that. dtracker, for historical reasons, converts that into a string. I would do it differently now. So what we want to do, figure out the client language. Local client language equals turbine.engine.getLanguage. There we go. Using client language to determine strings. So we actually do want our strings here. So local strings. Now, calling something string in a language is asking for trouble because there's oftentimes keywords called a string. And so I'm just going to go ahead and default to how we look at these things normally, which is lang. I don't necessarily need to be declaring these as local, but it's hard not to. So we have a couple things we're looking for. So we have buff name equals, and we're going to go ahead and say that do I want to worry about Russian? I suppose I could. Let's go ahead and add a file to separate this out. So functions.lua, and we're going to go ahead and hoist up something called getClientLanguage, but it's going to be simpler than that. So is client Russian? We're going to accept that my car is going to be this. Get item. So the theory is that in the Russian client, your language will show up as English, but your skills will show up in Cyrillic. And so if the first character of your first skill has a Cyrillic character, or is a Cyrillic character, then yes, it is Russian. And really we can just return client language here. Okay, so it's English, no, sorry. The language is the language unless it's English and Cyrillic is there, in which case it's Russian. We're done. Okay, so get client language. Cool. And you know what? Let's go ahead, strings.lua. So we're going to go ahead and remember to import these other two files. And so that just looks like this. We're going to remember to update the name of this folder, subscriber buffs reminder. And this is going to be strings and functions. Okay, so undefined get client language, I feel like it is defined. Let's save all. Let's go ahead and make that not syntactically invalid, and then let's just go ahead and see if we can load this. We can. Awesome. We're going to unload it. Loads really fast when it does absolutely nothing. Okay, so we're looking for the buff name, and so this is going to be turbine.language.english equals, and for this, I'm going to go ahead and double check by going into, where is it? We're going to go ahead and use the LOTRO companion files as a way to get the name of this in multiple places. So effect, yes. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull this in. And we're going to turn off word wrap there. And we're looking for subscriber buffs. Great. It is only in here once. Great. And we're going to go ahead and look for that in this folder. Great. So what we get is the German version, the English, the French, and the Russian, and in the labels. Okay, so I'm just going to do a lot of copy paste here because we're looking for an exact match. turbine.language.french equals, and this is going to be in the FR. And just in case there's interesting white space issues that aren't showing up, Wizik says, hello! Hello, Wizik. I'm going to go ahead and start copying with the quotes. We're going to go ahead and say turbine.language.German equals, and then finally turbine.language.Russian equals, and that is going to be this one. Great. What number are you? Awesome. So that is the start of this. This is how we're going to detect that we do have a subscriber buffs. And the only other thing we need, I think, is the text for the window. So window text equals, and you know what, we basically want the same structure, except we're gonna it is time to talk to Winda. Okay, so that's the basic idea. We can probably come up with some better words than that. And we're not going to worry about translating them until we're pretty sure those are the correct words. But it's time to talk to Winda. That's the window text. And if there's a close button, I don't even know that we need one. We can just let them close it in some other way for right now. Okay, so we have our strings. We have some basic functions. So we have our client language. Local buff name equals lang dot buff name. Client language. There we go. So we need to look at the buffs on the player. So we need the local player. Let's take a look at this. We're done with that. Local player, there is a get instance message. We actually already saw that copied in here from Turbine gameplay, local player get instance. So we're going to go ahead and grab that. Local player equals this. Just as an easier way to talk about it. So the local player is going to have get effects, probably. Get effects, there we go. Local effects equals local player get effects. We don't need to save it off as a local variable, but I'm assuming we're going to use it more than once at this point. So that's going to give us an effect list. An effect list, we can see, has a couple of things that we're interested in. We want to know when effects are added or removed from this, specifically added. So let's go ahead and say effects added equals a function that takes a sender and args and recheck for what I would like to know is it a subscriber buffs? And I don't know for sure how to do that. Let's go ahead and grab a helper function. General functions dump. There we go. Basic debug function to look at a table. Perfect. I find it very useful to just carry this around with me from place to place. Because what we want to do is go ahead and say turbine.shell.writeLine effect added args, and we want to go ahead and dump args. Because I'm assuming the sender is going to be the effect list itself, which is less helpful, because then we'd have to just iterate through all of them again. But we do need a function. Function check for subscriber buffs. And this one is, I'm going to stop moving all that down. This one is responsible for finding the buff I'm just realizing that I'm going to go ahead and initialize these things once. think, where do I want? The buff name only needs to be over here. Okay, and client language, no, we'll go ahead and save that off. It can be global. Okay, so we want to go ahead and using the buff name, we're going to iterate through this list of effects. Let's see what we've got. So for man, I'm so used to writing for loops in C#. I'm going to double check this. Lua for loop, numeric for, because we know we want to start at 1 and go through the get count. So for I equals 1 comma effects get count do and man, I really need to internalize that one of these days. Now, if I don't declare it as a local, is it still locally scoped to the I? It might be. It says local. That'd be nice. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and throw a space in there because I like a space. And then turbine.shell.writeLine effect. And what we're going to do is do effects get. And we're going to pass I. And we're actually going to dump that. Are we going to dump it? Probably. What does the get give us? It gives us an effect. Okay. An effect has a get name. Even better. Okay. So if the effect is added, we're going to check. And maybe we don't care about the center and args for this because we're just going to iterate through them all. It's fine. So the effects, we're going to iterate through all of them, but let's go ahead and check for subscriber buffs when we load. Okay, so many problems. Strings Lua. Let's take a look at this. Lua 6 table index is nil. Okay. Let's remember to actually set Russian because it was removed in an update since it's not officially supported anymore. Great. Okay, we can see I have the gifts of Gundabad, gifts of Umbar, and other gifts of Gift of Umbar. Nifty. I assume those are coming from my earrings and such. So we want to be able to add and remove effects to test this. So let's go ahead and head on over to Brie. And there's some cooking or crafting stations by West Brie that I like. So we're going to go over there. Hopping through the festival grounds using the Breeland horse or Brie Town horse. And we're going to come on over here. Because as you approach or leave these crafting stations, you should expect to... Oh, that's fun. I had landscape difficulty just from leaving. So as I get close to this oven, we can see I got a bunch of things. And this, notice that for each effect that was added, we're calling this function. So, yeah, all right, let's be slightly better than we are. So what we want to do, not check for subscriber buffs, but turbine.shell.writeline, we are going to go ahead and do this, args, and we're going to go ahead and dump args. Let's see this. Okay, so this just appeared, and we can see args. Oh, interesting. So just the index. So let's do effects get and args.index. That didn't work. Get name. One more time. So move away, come on back. So we can see we got the campfire, campfire, oven, and superior oven buffs out of that. Okay, that seems pretty reasonable. So for each one of these, we can check to say if then. So function handle subscriber buffs. So what we want to do is pass in an effect. So if something was added, then what we want to do is local effect name equals. We're going to go ahead and grab these and say handle. Actually, do we need to get the name? We do not. Local effect handle subscriber bus effect. Great. So in here, if effects, we do need an if effect get name equals buff name, then handle subscriber buffs, and in here, same thing. Local effect equals this. We want the same thing. Handle subscriber buffs, and then we can just go ahead and break. Well, we don't have a break. We can return. If we haven't done it, then we'll go ahead and handle that with a nil, which is to say we didn't find it at all. Okay, so if it's nil, show the window. Okay, so we do need a function, show window, and so if effect is nil, then show window end. So now we know it's not nil, so we can go ahead and use the fact that we can look at an effect to see information about it. So get duration sounds great. Let's see that. So local duration equals, and I feel like we should have something that has a changeable duration, but is not the thing that we actually want to test. So let's come on in and grab an hope token and pop that sucker on. So now we have something that has an actual duration. Now the duration is listed as 50 minutes. What we actually want is how much time has elapsed. And the answer is the start time. What's the duration? Gets the duration of the effect. Okay. So we may need to calculate the elapsed time from the start time and the duration. Let's look at both of those values. And to come on in here, let's go ahead and say it's not subscriber buffs, it is something else. And we can see it is, wow, Ironfold Edelharn token give hope. Sure, sounds great. Let's go ahead and get that in there. So we're going to come on in, we've stopped getting a bunch of effects getting printed out. Yeah, let's make sure that doesn't cover that. Turbine.shell.writeLine. We're going to go say handle this. Great. So we can see unexpected symbol near end. Awesome. That's going to be 49. Right, of course. So let's go ahead and just comment that out for a second. Awesome. So we have the handle subscriber buffs effect. Local name equals how much effort do I want to put in something that isn't going to stay in. We'll just put the get name after the nil check. Okay, so we can see we have the effect. So what we want is the durations. So turbine.shell.writeLine, and what we want is both of these things. We want the get duration, which I think is always going to be 50 minutes. And we also want the start time. Okay, we can see the duration is 3,000. If we want to double check ourselves, we can see that is 50 minutes. And so we can see the get start time. From that, we can say, okay, turbine.shell.writeLine, time left. And this is going to be turbine.engine.get game time, maybe. We're gonna pause there because okay, that looks very similar. So we're gonna concatenate the game time minus the get start time. Okay, so 45 minutes plus 54 seconds. We should be expecting something in the range of 2,700 and such. Since we're not expecting that, I think it's plain that my not even thinking about it math was incorrect. So what we're actually looking for is time left is the inverse of that. It has been running for this long. So we want seconds remaining equals seconds begin minus elapsed time. So what we want, local elapsed seconds equals, and that is this value here. Local seconds remaining equals effect get duration minus elapsed seconds. Hey, you know what? This is already bothering me. Seconds elapsed. Seconds remaining, or remaining seconds, elapsed seconds. I could go either way. Consistency is the important thing. So time left, and now we know this is seconds left. Should be that. Let's take a look at that. Unload, reload. Okay, so it says time left 2,600. Does that make sense? Well, we can see 2,600 just from the 44 minutes plus 20 seconds at the time. That makes a lot of sense. Awesome. So what are we concerned with? Okay, so we now know that if seconds remaining is less than, what are we interested in? For this is VIP subscriber buffs. So I think it'd be useful to have a constant somewhere, or not a constant, but a named thing. Local, let's go ahead and declare it here. Local to minimum minimum seconds equals, and we're going to say the default is 1 day. Number of seconds in a day. And there's, of course, an asterisk whenever you're dealing with time because there's leap seconds and whatever, but we don't care about that. We do not need to be that precise. So, this seems like a reasonable starting point, but of course, we do want to be able to change this for testing. So we're going to testing and testing. So minimum seconds is in fact going to be whatever, 2400. So if the seconds remaining is less than the minimum seconds, then show window end. Turbine.shell line, too few seconds remaining or buff is missing. Now, show window is, of course, not showing a window, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and unload this. We're going to reload this. All of this is great. What we can see here is 41 times 60, 24. We're getting really close. Let's go ahead and say that 2500 is the minimum seconds. Reload this. We can see too few seconds remaining or buff is missing. So our logic got us to the point where we're in show window. Doesn't do anything yet, but that's okay. Now, what if we didn't have the buff at all? So let's go ahead and fix up this a little bit. We're going to go ahead and have one of these be subscriber buffs. Comment it out. We're going to have this one. Comment, get rid of that. And we're going to comment in here and say, we don't have this buff. So if we don't have this buff, we're going to also get in even if we use the minimum seconds of 500. We're going to come in here. Well, it's not going to work there. What do we do? It didn't actually exit the function. Show window, return. Great. 2 few seconds remaining or buff is missing. Awesome. If we come in here and give us an actual value, everything's fine. But if we come in here and put the minimum seconds back, we're back in here. So we can demonstrate that we get into the show window function either because we don't have the buff at all or because there's too few seconds on the buff. But if we have the buff and there's enough seconds on the buff, nothing happens. So to do the last thing that we're looking to do, we need to create a window, and we need that window to, when it is closed, to unload the plugin. And we want to keep an eye on all of this. Oh, so if we get to this point, we can unload now. So let's go ahead and add a function. Function, unload. How do we do this? No clue, but I've done it before, so let's go look and see. unload. Okay, so there is a refresh available plugins. That sounds great. We want to make sure that they know about what's available. So we're going to go ahead and say get loaded plugins. And in each of those, we're going to look for the name of this plugin. Now this should match the name we put into the .plugin file. So let's go take a look at that. So this should be this. Okay. So if the name equals this, we don't even need to do that. We know that is so weird. Why would I do that? Why would I not just unload the thing? Anyway. Well, you learn something new all the time. We're going to just unload this thing. So turbine.pluginmanager.unload script state. And it's going to be the name of this. I don't think we need any of that. I'm not even sure we need the refresh available plugins. So we can unload now. Sure, unload. Because we didn't show the window. Or we'll call unload in here. So if we load this, okay, we had too few seconds remaining because we did that. But if we knock down that number of seconds and we load this, okay, it didn't work. We might need to do that in an update function. Okay. So let's go ahead and use this as inspiration and come make ourselves a control. So what we want to do is say, is it a local? I don't know that it even needs to be a local. Unloader equals turbine.ui.control. Unloader set wants updates. True. And then unloader in their update equals function with sender and args. We're going to go ahead and do this. Get loaded plugins, unload script state. Yeah, that all seems fine. Let's see if that works better. It did not. Fascinating. Turbine.shell.writeLine unload. Where are we? And then unloader.update. Oh, okay, so we're in there, but it's not doing anything. Unload script state. It might be that you can't unload yourself, in which case this is doomed to fail. Turbine.plugin manager, unload script state. Yep, there we go. The script state that is used to invoke this cannot unload itself. Unfortunately, without a centralized system for managing this, the only way to work around this is to load a different plugin that unloads you, but then that plugin is still unloaded. Loaded. Now this is actually doable though, because if in your unload you unload that other one, that could be interesting. And I'm willing to divert approximately 6 minutes of interest into it. Let's go ahead and take this reloader here and name that with this. What did I do? Of course. So let's take a look at this. Physics says 6 minutes is a good amount. Exactly. Any more than that is just indulgent. So we're going to go ahead and call this a reloader. I like to prefix these sort of meta plugin files with a tilde, so they just sort at the bottom of the list of plugins, so that anyone who's looking at these, they can see them. Of course, it's public, but they don't need to. Use internally by subscriber buffs reminder. Loading at unload subscriber buffs reminder if loaded. We're actually going to call it unloader. Okay, so get that back in here. Unloader. Loading it will unload subscriber buffs. It loaded. Nope, and not reloaded. When subscriber buffs reminder loads, it will unload this plugin if loaded. Great. Let's play with that. For that, we do need something like reloader. Let's come on in unloader and make sure that we update that package information. Unloader. Okay. And image. We're not going to bother with an image. Maybe. Okay, so apartment. Okay, so the last thing we'll need to handle the unload function. So let's take a look at that. Not looking at strings. We're looking for the main function. Okay. So we want to go ahead and during startup get ourselves a hook into the plugin turbine.plugin.unload function. So where there's no saving, there's no info. Turbine.shell.writeline unloading subscriber buffs reminder. Great. So let's take a look at this. We're going to need to load it and unload. Great. Unloading that. So when we are unloading, we want to go ahead and unload the script state of the subscriber buffs reminder unloader. And when it loads, okay, so unload this, we actually want to go ahead and load the unloader instead. Unload, right. And I suppose it does not hurt to do this. No, we don't even need that. We can do it in here. So we refresh this. Unloader update, sure. But instead of loading, we want to go ahead and load. All right, that's really simple. So we're going to call load plugin, and so we are loading based off of the name what's in here. Okay, so subscriber bus reminder unloader, we're loading that, and in our unload we are unloading that script state. And it should do a thing. Let's go check on that thing that it should do. Should be really simple. So we go ahead and unload the script state of the other one. What is that script state? Let's go double check. That's going to be this. And we don't need to load anything. Okay. We don't even necessarily need to set once updates to false, but we'll do it anyway. Oops. Gotta load the right one. Subscriber bus reminder. Awesome. So you can see subscriber bus reminder loads itself. Well, the first time it worked great, and then it unloaded. What's going on with this? 28 minutes. Do I care if in this function, in this show window, is nil? Sure. If is nil, then else end. So for our debug statement, sure. Buff is missing, too few seconds remaining. Okay, and then show window, false, show window, true. I think those might be the only places. Yes, okay. So let's go ahead and unload. Subscriber bus reminder is still loaded at that point. So it looks like in our unload, we cannot unload the thing that is unloading us. And because it's already loaded, we weren't able to use it. Okay, so that's our investigation into this. I think, unless, there's no point in doing this, I don't think, because our plugin's not going to be large enough to justify it. So we're going to go ahead and kill anything with the word unload, essentially. Unload. That's all of that. Okay, interesting experiment, but it looks like we wouldn't be able to unload the other one that is currently unloading us. Okay, that's fair. And we would have to unload it when we load it and then use it to unload us, and it's just not that much smaller than we are. So there's not a lot to be saved here. Okay, so now what? Yeah, Wizard agrees. It's not worth it. But it was interesting because I wasn't sure what the limits were on the system. So we're going to go ahead and remember to delete that reloader, well, unloader in this case, and unload it there. Okay. For science, says Wizik. Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and come back in and we've unloaded everything. We're going to go ahead and load this up, and we can see we're not getting any more of that unloading stuff. Okay, so the show window. This is pretty straightforward because all we want to do is show a window and then know when the window closes. Actually, we don't even care about the window closing anymore because we can't unload ourselves. Okay, so we need a window. If we make it local to this function, it'll get cleaned up as soon as the function exits. So we need it to not be local to this function. So let's go ahead and subscriber buffs reminder window equals turbine.ui.lotro.window. So this is a long thing to type, but on the other hand, in a modern editor, maybe it's not a problem, but really we just don't need it to be that big. So window equals that. Now, is that going to be a problem? Window. I'm hesitating because I've gone and named a local variable after, which is identical to the class name, which, if I didn't do that and I just said window, what would it think? Yeah, it would definitely think I'm talking about window, or at least the IntelliSense would. So let's name it something slightly more. Reminder window. The window, says Wizik. Yeah, I was tempted. A window. My window was actually where I was going, but it's so undescriptive. So we're gonna call a reminder window equals that. Reminder window show. Nope. Set visible. Yeah. True. And we're just gonna see where it goes from there. So I'll load this. I'll load it. Well, I actually have a valid buff right now. It's only got 23 minutes almost, so 23, that's going to be 1380. Great. Oh no! Okay, so cool. This is a default sized and located window, and it has a little X button that you can close. Perfect. What we need to do is try to put it into the middle of the screen and try to put the message that we want to put on there in there. One of those is pretty easy. We're going to make a label that is the size of the window. So local label equals turbine.ui.label, label set text, and this is going to be lang dot underscore lang dot window text, and this is going to be indexed by client language. Okay, so what we want to do is say label set width to be reminder window get width. We'll fix that up later. Label set height to be reminder window get height. I think there's a way to do a multi-parameter return from like get position and pass that as the parameters of a function, but I'm feeling a little lazy on looking that up. But maybe I've inspired myself. Lua pass multiple arguments to values to function. So Lua pass multiple return values to function. Awesome. Ah. Okay. Print passing that. Okay. Function set position of width height. Turbine.shell.WriteLine width height. And then we also want a function get position, and that's going to return 42 and 24. So the question is, if I go ahead and call set position with get position, does that do what I think it should do? Width and height. Neat. Okay. Let's assume label set position that we can do that then with a reminder window get position. I said position, but of course I meant size. And let's go ahead and do a label set back color to be turbine.ui.color.dark slate gray. Now, what did I forget? The very first thing is, that's what I always say, you gotta remember to parent your controls to a top level control or they will not show up. Set parent to reminder window. So important. Hey, it's time to talk to window. Now, a couple of problems with this label. Everyththeing is wrong with this label. Now, we're not taking into account that the window is stylized with the classic LOTRO border, so the top and the bottom left and right. There's margins that we should not be using. But if we just centralize this text, and I mean that'll be pretty good as a starting point. So set alignment, set text alignment. Is it going to be a turbine dot, I don't know, UI dot align, LOTRO dot align dot. I got to figure out where this is. The IntelliSense is not helping me. Okay, this is a content alignment. Turbine.ui.content alignment dot, and we want this to be middle center. And we don't actually need that background anymore. We can see that the return value did work the way we want it to with the multi-values. So by centering it vertically, it's kind of okay. But it might be better if we were to take into account the likely size of this thing. So if we were to go ahead and fix this, we would want to go ahead and do get width minus 10 or so, reminder window, get height minus 50 or so. That doesn't actually fix the position though. All right, let's be slightly better about this. In a standard window, wait a second, I want to draw a rectangle. So in a standard window like this, we want to do a quick little pixel counting. I'm going to use my favorite pixel manipulation tool, MS Paint, although not a fan of the Windows 11 version of it. And for one specific reason. It's really normal for me to come in and paste something, and I want to clear, hang on a second. I want to clear the selection with escape. And in Windows 10 and before, that's what that did. But now if you press escape, it cancels the paste, which is just messing with my muscle memory so badly. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to do a quick little measurement of how much of this window do we lose to upper stuff. And that's really just all of this. And that is, I would say, about 44 pixels. So let's go ahead and start encoding that in here. So local margin top equals 44. Margin left equals, and it's probably going to be pretty similar, okay, to the right. And this is, let's call it 30. Local margin right equals about the same. And local margin bottom equals, and not surprisingly, about 30. The top just has the extra space beyond here, which is about 15 pixels, which is what we'd expect. Awesome. So obviously, if someone has themed these windows and therefore they have different dimensions for these values, this math would break down. But it gives us a good starting point where we could have this be customizable. Someone could, you could imagine a ballooning system where this was configurable in the UI. We're not going to do that. So instead, what we're going to do, put that labeling back. What we want to do is, so local, we want to set this width to the reminder width minus the margin left minus the margin right. And we're going to go ahead and, that's the width, and then this is the height. We're doing that minus the margin top minus margin bottom. And then we need also label set position to be margin left and margin top. And that'll slide it over by the amount that we're losing. So if we go ahead and reload that there, we can see we are well within that drawing area. Now we might actually be a little bit too far. One could imagine we could let the corners extend up into this filigree a little bit. And that would be fine. So how many pixels are we missing there? I would say about 12 pixels. Sure. Let's nip that off. So instead of left and right and bottom, all of that, we'll subtract 12 from all of that. So 32, 18, 18, 18. And then we'll see how that is. Okay, we can see that's filling the space a lot more nicely, and even if we were using all of the box, it would still be very visible. Okay, great. Window itself is ridiculously small though, so let's go ahead and fix that. So we want to go ahead and say the window, reminder window, set size to be, I don't know, 200 and 100? I don't even know what we are right now. Oh, it's smaller than that. Yeah, let's see what we want to use as the window title. So window text, window title equals, and in this case, it is going to just be the name of the plugin, and that's probably going to be the same everywhere. So let's just copy that from here. And it's going to be going in there. Okay, so, but if someone wanted to customize that per language, awesome, we can do that. Actually, maybe it should just be, we do, yes. You know, I'm thinking about the reminders plugin with all of its. This is a reminder. If I recall correctly, the reminders plugin yeah, let's go ahead and open it in Sublime Text. Yeah, it does make use of these, and that makes sense. So let's go ahead and see. Yep, that's a singular. Okay. So in German, we'll get rid of that, and for German. Now, I don't know that grammatically this makes sense. So sometimes you can convince yourself that it's plausible if you play around with it. So subscriber buffs reminder. Yeah, we can see that maybe it would make more sense to do different grammar here. Let's take a look at French. So we saw repel being used, repels for reminders. So that seems plausible. And then subscriber buffs, bones, well. A reminder of subscriber reinforcements. That seems like a pretty good word for buff. And then let's come take a look at this for Russian. Oh my goodness. All right, I would guess that there's a little bit of grammar going on here as well. But if anyone in chat speaks Russian, let me know. And we're going to go ahead and put this in there. And we can see there's some similarity there. So if I were to pop this in, this phrase, reminder about subscriber gifts. Awesome. All of that seems plausible. And while I don't trust Google Translate 100%, I think if you can get some reasonable progress on it, then someone can come in and clean it up. And that's okay. Okay, so for window title, we want to come on in and reminder window set text. And this is going to be lang window title, client language. And we can see that's not nearly wide enough. So let's go ahead and set that to 300. Also, the position isn't great. Also, it's not big enough. Okay, that would be great, except we can see that we're really looking for something that is able to support longer. So let's go ahead and do the German real fast, because that is the longest we have. And let's see, 450? Nope, 500? That'll do it. Okay, so that is big enough, and you know, it's just ridiculously wide now, so we're gonna make it a little bit wider. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and pop in the original English again, and let's get this thing centered on the screen. So we want to know how big the screen is at the time that the plugin is loading. So we want to do a reminder window set position of something, something. And we don't know what those are. I'm going to put 0, 0 here just so the IntelliSense stops freaking out. But what we want to do is ask the game, how big is the screen? Now this is probably going to be in Turbine. Possibly Turbine.ui? That would certainly make sense. Display. Get width and get height. Great. Get size. Awesome. Let's take a look at that. So we're going to go ahead and local display size equals turbine.ui.display.get size. And we'll just go ahead and dump that out. Turbine.shell.writeLine size, and we'll dump that out. Okay, so we can see 1920. Oh, get size is returning two things. Display width, display height. Really? Yes, yes. Great. So we can see it's reporting 1920 by 1080. That is the current client size. Slipstream asks, are creating a mod? Yes, we are doing, they are called plugins for Lord of the Rings Online, similar to add-ons for World of Warcraft or mods for other games, perhaps. So these plugins are miniature programs that run inside the game and allow you to do interesting things or possibly super mundane things like reminding you to go talk to Wenda. But important things, because you don't want to forget that. Okay, so size is returning what we're expecting. So we can do some basic math, which is to say we're going to set the position of this. We're doing X and Y. So we want to do display width minus reminder window get width divided by 2. And we can do display height minus reminder, wait, divided by 2. Display height minus the reminder get height divided by 2. And if I've done my math correctly, we should now have a better default position for this window. Hey, it's in the middle of the window. Yay! Slipstream said, oops, that sounded like I didn't know that. I meant, what add-on are you creating? No worries. I try not to assume that everyone who joins this channel knows even what a plugin is. So what we're doing today is in Lord of the Rings Online, if you are a subscriber, that is you give a monthly or yearly amount, which I'm a fan of. If you're available, it helps them keep the lights on and keep the game running. There's expenses even without paying like people. You gotta keep the hardware up, and I want them to pay the people also. So if you're able to be a subscriber, then one of the perks you get in the game is the subscriber benefits, which is a buff that looks like this, and it does two key things: it accelerates crafting time, and it prevents item wear from combat crafting and defeat. And so the upside is it's currently got a duration of 14 days, which is great. That's up from 2 days when it first came out. Amazing. Love it. Downside is that it expires after 14 days, and it's been so long that you're just like, of course I have it. You go out adventuring, and you're like, wait a second. Why is my stuff breaking? So I'm just making a little plugin that checks when you first log in, is it time to talk to Wenda? And if it is, it says, it's time to talk to Wenda. Actually, you know what? That feels a little low to me. I think I want it more like a third of the way down the screen. So we're going to go ahead and just divide the height by 3 instead of 2. Come on in here and check that out. Perfect. So I want this font to be bigger in this label since we have so much extra room because the title is so big. And we want it to be a reminder. So label, set font. And we have turbine.ui.font style. And in LOTRO, do we have font? We do. Let's take a look at some of these options. I'm going to go with the largest Verdana that I can find and see what that looks like. Steady Eddie says, looking great. Nice work. Thank you. Sometimes it's fun just to... Let's set that before we set the text. Sometimes it's fun just to do something really, theoretically simple and just kind of work from first principles. That font is definitely not the same family as I was expecting, though. So let's see what we can do with a book Antiqua. Well, that's kind of nice. Let's see what other options we have, though, so before we're settled on that. We have... Trajan Pro Bold. Yeah, let's check that out. That is pretty bold. Slipstream says that, can I get this plugin yet? We're making good progress on it. Releasing it may happen tonight. Okay, it's time to talk to Wenda. Now, I'm pretty happy with the positioning of this label within the window, so I'm going to actually turn off that black background and just make it is time to talk to Wenda. Subscriber buffs reminder. Great. Now, it is not actually checking my actual buffs because we needed to be able to turn it on and off, but that will be one of the things that we fix as we go. And if effect added, how much of this could just be I'm going to go ahead and move the creation of the window contents to its own function, call that when we first get started, and then in show window we can just go ahead and reminder window set visible true, but that means we would also be able to, if we fall out of the handle function, then we should be able to hide that. And that means if and when we get that effect, if we have the effect and we just update it though, that would not. Well, hang on a sec. Let's go get some more of these hope tokens. Okay, so what am I thinking? can we pay attention to an effect changing? Let's come take a look at that. So that's going to be in turbine.gameplay, and we're going to look at effect methods, start time changed. Okay, so if we find it, we would like to know about the start time changing. So check for handle this. So if it is nil, then don't worry about it. Otherwise, effect dot start time changed equals function sender args end. If the start time changed, then handle subscriber buffs effect. Just recheck it. Okay, so for testing purposes, if we want this to be, say, 48 minutes, most of a hope token, so I don't have to worry about it falling off because we're going to assume that the average player does not stay online for more than 24 hours at a time on the same character. And if they do, then they're probably responsible enough to get their own subscriber buffs. Okay, so create window is just one time. We're done with that. Show window. Set it to true. If we fall off of this function, we can hide it. And we might be clobbering the same callback function over and over, but I don't think I mind. Okay. So what does this look like? Let's go ahead and unload and reload just to catch all of that. We've got a buff is missing. Okay. Oh, nice. So we got a demonstration there that I regained the buff, in which case it's a hope token in this case, and the window auto-detected that and went away. And that's the same thing as if this were set up for real, and if I went and talked to window and got my buff, it should go away. And we'll do a final test of that before releasing this. But since that one has a 2-week cooldown on getting that buff, I want to hold it off until I'm very certain to be ready for it, because I only have so many characters without it to test with. Okay, and hope tokens are so easy to make. So, awesome. So we can do that, and then once 2 minutes has passed on here, why not 1 minute? So we're going to unload, we're going to reload, everything's fine, because we still have 10 seconds left. We're going to let that 10 seconds count down, and then after that, we should still be able to trigger this because we'll have the buff, but there's not enough time left on it. There we go. Too few seconds remaining. Awesome. Now, it's such a long cooldown. When this token is ready. Okay. So while we're waiting on that cooldown for testing purposes, what else? What's going on here? On startup, figure out the client language, using that client language to determine strings, look at the buffs on the player. We're doing that. If we don't find it, or if they have less than 24 hour remaining, then show a window that says so. Once the window is closed, nope. Once we see an update of the subscriber buffs, not unload the plugin, but close the window if open. Awesome. So yeah, we are doing all of that. We have an effects added. We pay attention to effects added. Again, we're not trying to monitor this real time. We're just, when you log in, we're doing this and then we're done. Check for subscriber buffs. Handle subscriber buff singular. Either it's nil or it is there, in which case we can do some checking. We do a one-time create window, and then we're going to check for subscriber buffs when we first load, which is doing this, looking what we have. And also, we'll do the same handle subscriber buffs if that effect is later added. And then this is just for testing purposes, so I think we can go ahead and get rid of that. And let's search for the word test. Okay, just right there. Slipstream says, you might be perfect for this question then. I'm a newly returned player without saying how long ago. I have a 2K/4K LCD. What would be the best plugin option to resize these windows? Can't see anything in the inventory bags. So this is a problem that many members of the LOTRO community are very aware of, and the development team behind LOTRO, SSG, Standing Stone Games, they are also aware that people are looking for a better experience in higher resolution environments. And so there are a few things you can do just within game, and you may already know about these. You didn't highlight it specifically, but in a quest window, for instance, and in some other windows, there's a little button down in one of the corners, and for instance, it's here, and you can use that to increase and decrease the size of text. Now, again, that's only increasing it in the reading pane, not over here on the left, so it's a partial solution at best, and it's not available in some other places like the deed log. So some people will have better success just forcing the game itself to run in a lower resolution than their monitor can support, while the developers kind of play catch up. And the problem is just the game is, the game, the design of the game predates high resolution monitors like 2K, like 4K, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done under the covers to make it work well. Like, it is possible for a plugin to make itself seem bigger, but often ways in a way that isn't very good looking visually. Let me give you an example. The Hunter Deadly Decoy plugin. I can't believe I did that. In a moment. Okay, the Hunter Deadly Decoy plugin is for hunters nominally, but you can load it on anyone. And you can imagine that the normal size for that icon is this. Okay, that is the size of the icon. It's like 32 pixels by 32 pixels. It is possible to scale it up. Let's say you need it to be 4 times that big because you've got 4 times the resolution. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not a high resolution experience. And so I think what they are, I would suspect what they are trying to avoid is just like blowing things up by zooming in without giving extra pixels for that resolution. But there's just a lot of art and a lot of other stuff in the game to work through in order to make that a good experience for people. Because what you don't want is to log in and have 32 pixels scaled up to a bunch of pixels and be like, oh, that's kind of ugly. I actually kind of like it, but I imagine a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, that's not why I have these monitors. So without just resorting to scaling, with redesigning the assets so they're higher resolution to begin with, or there are a common thing for operating systems is to have a icon bundle where you have that 32 by 32 icon, but you also have 64 by 64, 128 by 128, 256 by 256, so that the system can kind of choose, oh, we're close enough to that one and we can nudge that one and we'll have enough pixels, or oh, we'll use this one instead. So there are so many visual elements in the game that would need to be worked on in order for that to be a complete solution. It does not surprise me that it's taking them a little while. Slipstream says, what are you running in resolution? It seems like I can resize most, but those bags. So right now I am running in 1920 by 1080. Which is the native resolution for these monitors. These are not super high resolution monitors. Hey, it worked. And one thing I would say is that it is possible that there might be a plugin out there that could help with this, but I don't know of one off the top of my head. I tend to use a different plugin anyway for this, and let me see if I can do something about that. I'm going to reinstall Prime plugins and just load up my save files so I can demonstrate this. But my save file's in another castle. Prime bags, yes please. Okay. So Prime Bags is a bag, sort of a bag of bags. It has some default places to put things, but you can also specify, oh, I want to make a custom bag out of these things. And I found this really changed my game experience when I could just say, oh, you know what, I have some base stuff that I'm always running with. So that's these hope tokens, that's this healing potion, and my finely carved horn for Wenda, and the subscriber town services. Let's throw that in there too. And so that tells me, oh, I've got my summons to the Entwade. I should probably do something about that. And I've got my letter from Daily Utridge. I should do something about that. And I have 128 empty slots. And so this doesn't solve the make it bigger problem, but it does make the way the bag presents things a lot more user-friendly to my eyes. So maybe I don't need to care about all the details. I'm just going to the bag of bags that's metals, and because that's what I'm trying to work with. So as an example, let's go ahead and, yeah. We'll just pull everything out. Okay, so in my inventory now, I have a collection of things that are Host of the West. If you're not working on Host of the West reputation or trying to barter items from Host of the West, they do not help you, and I don't want them to go into a carry-all. I just want them to go live on an alt somewhere until my next character is going through the wastes. But they will get slurped up into a carry-all, and I don't like that. So I have a mini bag called Host of the West, and that's where these things are going in. But just on the face of it, trying to distinguish between these and the metals, in which case I have a bunch of Doomfold and a little bit of high-grade Doomfold. And I have a shared storage bucket. Wow, that's a really big though. A shared storage spot where I put metals and crit items that increase the chance of critting while you're doing crafting. So those just go there. And I have a separate conceptual bucket for these Hosts of the West. But in fact, yeah, I want to put them in the other bucket, which is stuff for other characters to deal with. So it doesn't make it necessarily easier to see any particular item, but maybe by grouping things in these custom buckets, it makes it so you don't have to. I don't have to distinguish, oh, is that one of my base items or is that something new and important, because all my base items are always in a thing called base. And so in order to configure this, I'm not sure I'm on the latest version of Prime Bags, but I'm on one that works for me. You make categories, and one gotcha is that category, this thing here, can accept enter. So watch out for that. You probably don't, you want to avoid it pressing enter and instead click the add button. But this is a, stream bucket. Cool, I've added a stream bucket. Once you have added, category. I've added a category. Once you've added that, click on it. You'll see it up here, and then you can come on over and drop an item over there. Whenever you close the options, it will reload the plugin. And then we can see, oh, this one's actually categorized in stream bucket. Hey, let's put both of those items in there. All right, I come back in. I come on down to stream bucket. I drag that one in. And I close, and now they're both in stream bucket. Neat. One thing to watch out for is that by default, if your categories have less than 5 of an item, they just kind of get clumped together into a catch-all category. That infuriates me. I hate it. If you also don't like that, come into setup, set minimum for all to 1, and close it, and you can see set minimum item of all categories to 1. Otherwise, it just drives me bonkers. But your mileage may vary. But that's how to use prime bags. I'm a huge fan of prime bags. It was a game changer for me because the way the game auto sorts things, if you hit the auto sort button, is predictable and you can get used to it. But it just felt like I was working against how the game wanted to sort things. Things were sorted more by quality than by type. So like, here's some scholar mats, and here's some scholar mats, and here's some scholar mats, and it just was not clicking for me. And so for me, prime bags just makes the whole experience much nicer. Now, Little Red in chat says, I auto sort and it drives him mad. And I would say I would qualify that because in the default bag system, let me go ahead and unload this. In the default bag system, my method of being like, here's all the new stuff and here's the stuff that's not new and therefore should stay in my inventory is just, if it's new, it's up here, and if it's not new, it's down here. And the auto sort just puts everything down there, and then it's like, well, now I don't know which were the old things and which were the new things. So that's why that distresses me, because then I have problems. But with prime bags, I don't have that problem. It just, if it's supposed to be in my inventory long term, I will just put it in my bag called base or something else with a meaningful name. And otherwise, it will just get kind of auto sorted and makes life nice. Wizik says, I use auto sort, but I just search because I can never find anything. So, at least you have a system, right? That's all that matters. So, anyway, so that's a thought. And I don't know if prime bags could make everything look bigger, but I assume it is non-trivial to do so. So I wouldn't expect that feature anytime soon if it's not actively available now. I think I did a proof of concept once where I scaled up the window and then things went wonky as soon as I started to do anything more complicated than look at it. But functionality-wise, I think it brings a lot to the table, even if it's going to be a tiny corner of your screen. But one thing you can do with this is, I don't know if you've noticed, but the window itself is resizable, even if the icons of what's in there are not currently. Flipstream says, thanks again. Yeah, good luck. Now, I know it's not the best solution for this, but Lord of the Rings Online runs great at 1920 by 1080. So if you're willing to bring yourself to underutilize your monitors, in the short run, you can just run at 1920 by 1080 or a similar resolution, depending on what the native resolution of your monitor is, and get, I think, a really good experience in-game, even though it's not quite as high quality looking as it could be, because all the windows will be sized a little bit more proportionally. But yeah, not having monitors that are bigger than 1920 by 1080, I haven't had to kind of come up with any better solution than, what if it was 10 years ago and your monitors weren't as good as they are? So anyway, my apologies. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that up. Awesome, everything's great. Wizik says, it looks tidy as far as sweeping things under the rug when you auto-sort. Absolutely. I am a big user of auto-sort when I'm not using prime bags, but I am using prime bags very much. So, okay. So what we saw was we were able to use these hope tokens to trigger the subscriber buff reminder to go away. And so what that means is I think that it is time for us to go ahead and talk to Wenda. But before we do that, we're going to need to make some changes. Why am I even going in that direction? Okay, it is time to talk to Wenda. So first of all, we want to go ahead and put the subscriber buffs back in. Second of all, we need the minimum seconds to go back in. It'd be great if I didn't press the page up and page down buttons. Wizik says, pick your Wenda, any Wenda. Yeah, I usually get the one in the neighborhoods, but since I'm in Bree, I might as well go to Wenda in Bree. I just think it's nice that she's following me around. Okay, we're going to go ahead and unload and reload, but we should double check that we've saved everything. So minimum seconds is should be 24 hours, 60 minutes an hour, 60 seconds. So we could just type this in as a common enough number, but I kind of like instead of local minimum seconds equals, oh, whatever it is. I recognize it when I see it. 86,400, like, you could then say number of seconds in a day, and that's fine. Either one of these is fine. I think they feel equally clear because they both have a large number of unnamed constants that you just kind of have to know from context. You could say hours in day equals 24, and local minutes in hour equals 60, and local seconds in minute equals 60. And then you could have local seconds in day equals hours in day times minutes an hour times seconds per, and these should all be per instead of in, obviously. Per, uh-oh. We should probably match the case if we're going to do that. Per so minutes per hour second. So hours per day times minutes per hour times seconds per minute equals seconds per day. Like this is a way of spelling it out with a lot of verbiage. And for more complicated topics, like if you're doing physics simulations or you're doing anything more abstract than time of day, and maybe for some people time of day is pretty abstract, but if you're talking programming, I think a lot of programmers have to deal with time stuff a lot. And if they see 86,400, they'll know what that is, especially if you've annotated number of seconds in a day. So yeah, I feel like this is stretching a little bit, and doing all of this is just not buying you a lot of clarity. Now, one thing we could do, local seconds in per day equals 86,400, and then, then the comment is a little bit silly, number of seconds in a day. I would like it to stop suggesting words. Oh, I've got to come do that later. And then you can say minimum seconds equals seconds per day. So that is one thing you could do. That would at least make this comment a lot less necessary. I think I'm going to err on the side of not bothering, but that is where I would probably go next if I wanted to do something. All right, we're going to get rid of that testing. So seconds remaining is less than minimum seconds. Great. I think we're pretty much good. So I'm going to unload, reload, make sure we didn't have any problems. Awesome. We're going to come on over, talk to Wenda, and accept. And remember, you have to both finish this and you have to drink from the jug. The item itself goes away in 6 hours. And bam, it makes the message go away. If you still have it up, you might have closed it by now. Lovely. I'm going to chuck that jug. And chuck this token as well because it's not good for 43 months. Wizik says, nice. I know, right? I was hoping it would be that simple. And maybe it is. So, we cannot test this anymore. Actually, we can test one thing. If we reload the plugin, no window. Awesome. So, what we want to do next is log in with a character that probably does not have the subscriber buffs and see what we can see. Oh. Yeah, they probably don't. Okay, so we want to come into plugins, and we want to go ahead and say subscriber buff reminder loads for everyone. Awesome. And let's come on into Zaman. And this will be a chance for Little Redhead to check out the functioning of this plugin and make suggestions if needed, since Little Redhead is a target audience. Okay. Where is Zaman? Probably in the neighborhood. Boy, I need these things to stop opening. Is that an option? That's good. D tracker can close over here. That comes on down. That comes on down. Great. It's time to talk to Winda. And we can see that that is true. I do not have the subscriber buffs benefit. We're going to come on over, accept, and finish. So we're going to drink that. The window goes away. And we're good. Is the window movable? It is! I'm actually going to re-log in with the same character to demonstrate that the window does not appear every time. It went away when we got our subscriber buffs, and it's not going to come back until that has 24 hours worth of seconds or fewer remaining on the duration. Okay, perfect. Let's go find another character. I would say most of these probably are missing the subscriber benefits because they have the Infinivalt from the transfer from Treebeard. And that's the main thing I'm looking for from my alt, is easy access to their personal vault. And so I'm pretty lax on going and talking to Winda with most of my characters when I'm not actively playing them. Okay, so subscriber buffs reminder. It stays when you hide things. It is movable. It is not resizable. I'm just going to move these things over. I'm going to come talk to Winda, accept, and finish, and drink. And that's it. That is the entirety of what this plugin is trying to do, is just a reminder to go talk to Winda if needed. Oh, I know why those things are doing that, because all my plugin files are missing. That's fine. So, not because of a bad thing. I move them out of the way while we're doing plugin development, so I don't accidentally squash any of my live player save files. Little Redhead says they like it. Woo! All right. Let's go talk to... I believe this character predates the cosmetic systems. So you just had to wear whatever you were wearing. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I dyed things. Yeah. Yeah, this is from like the first year of the game, and this was the equipment I got while I was in the North Downs or something. It's time to talk to Winda. Accept.
Greetings, friend.
Oh, it's fine. It's kind of a sentimental. Okay, and then we can... Oh, actually... Yeah, 215 months. Get rid of that new one. And then we have the jug. So until we actually use the jug, we don't have the buff, so we have to remember to use it, and then the window goes away. Well, that's it. Okay, so we have made the plugin. Now let's go through the process of releasing the plugin. I do want to get a screenshot of that window, though, so let's log in with a different character so we can get that window back without having to modify code. And I'm going to use the snipping tool to grab a rectangular snip. He says, that's a very nice plugin. I will find it very funny if this has any measurable amount of downloads over on the LOTRO interface. But you know what? Sometimes you just want a simple thing that does a simple task. Oh, right. She's actually been doing stuff. So she does have that. I should not have logged in with Tasha. Oh, well. Snell definitely doesn't. But for reasons, I don't want to log in with Snell. Lungs on? Maybe. Okay, so let's go ahead and think about... in other plugins, I will have a structure of places for images or files or whatnot. I've called it website. I don't really like that name, though, so I want to get into the habit of something else like docs. and in docs, short for documents. Why am I making it short? Documents. This is not 1980s. We're going to go ahead and make forum and we're going to make LOTRO interface. Okay, yay! We're going to get rid of all that. Okay, so we want to go ahead and save that off somewhere. Save. There's a button. Okay. So this is going to go Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, Cube Plugins, that's me, and Subscriber Buffs Reminder. And in Documents, we're going to have an Images folder. So we can see that. And this is going to be main window version 1.0.0. And the reason I'm doing it like that is that if this changes over time, almost certainly never going to change again, but if this changes over time, I will have a historical record of it and not be reliant on other places that the images have occurred. If I'm like, oh man, I wonder what it looked like in 10 years ago or whatever. So I don't have to wonder, it's right here. So I can be my own historical record. Now, you can store image files like this in source control repositories, just you don't want to store a bazillion of them or really huge ones necessarily. It's not necessarily great for performance, but I would imagine that file, I don't have to imagine, but I would imagine it's pretty small. 200 kilobytes. I mean, relatively that's huge for a text file, but pretty small for an image file. Okay, so we have our image. Should be in images. Awesome. And then we want to have our LOTRO form description and our LOTRO interface description. So what we want to do is LOTRO interface first. We're going to make a new file, and that's going to be version 1.0.0. Sure. And in forum, we can make another one that's version 1.0.0. So what does LOTRO interface description look like? Well, let's go take a look at what dtracker does. So this is a lot of text. We don't need most of it, but we'll start with it. First of all, there's an older revision history. Kill it. There's a recent revision history. We're just going to call it revision history because we're likely to never have another one, but we'll see. This is the 9th of September, 1.0.0. Initial release. Release notes are here. We're going to go ahead and just blank that out completely because we don't want to point to the wrong place. So, initial release. Release notes are there. Cool. Known issues, none. None. So far. What is going on here? There we go. Okay, so to load the plugin, use the game's built-in. Oh man, I need to have a word wrap on this. Okay, starting from the top. dtracker is designed to help you keep, nope. This is subscribe. Why am I typing anything? Subscriber buffs reminder is Tells you if you do not have your subscriber buffs or if it will expire soon. That's it. Oh my goodness. Kill all of that. Language support. Supports English, French, German, and Russian. Notes. Nope, I don't need that. Installation and start to install. Zip the downloaded archive. You will get a folder called Cube Plugins. Move this folder into your Documents, LOTRO, Plugins folder, or if you prefer, you may use LOTRO Compendium to do the installation. I'll need to ping Lunar Water about that, but in theory, although I've been hearing that LOTRO Compendium is causing people some problems. Looks like I forgot to reinstall it after my machine died, so I'll have to dig into that. So we're going to go ahead and leave that on the hope that eventually that is true. To load the plugin, use the game's built-in plugin manager. This can be found in the caret menu at the bottom of the screen. Then choose a system and then plugin manager. As a short, you can also type in that. When it opens, find subscriber buffs reminder in the list on the left side. Click load to load the plugin. If you'd like to load the plugin to load automatically each time, choose automatic for yes. Known issues. None so far. Revision history. Initial release. Cool. So that is that. We have an image file that can go up, and then we just need to make a zip file of the plugin files. Okay. So let's go ahead and, oh, don't need to do that. So we're going to go into plugin long releases, and we're making a brand new thing. You know what? Some of these are older, and it's making this thing hard to read. Okay. True about this as well. So we need a new zip file. We're going to go ahead and make one, new, and we can see that it's basically an empty archive, and what we want to do is fix that. So we're going to come on in, Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, Cube Plugins, that's me. And we need to make a new subscriber buffs reminder folder over here as a staging ground. Now you don't have to do it this way, this is just a way that works for the way I think about things. And for this, we need to have the .plugin file, and we need to have whatever is relevant from in here. I'm going to actually copy it over for this very first one. We don't need a VS Code, we don't need documents, we just need functions, main, and strings. And yes, this could have all been in a single file, but it's nice to break conceptual things apart. Okay. So that is it. It's 3 functions. We're not using the turbine files, the extra turbine files at all, so that makes packaging this up just that much easier. And then we want to go ahead and put these into the archive. Now, we can see that I've already made a mistake. Inside the folder should be the Cube Plugins folder, so we want to go ahead and get that in there. Awesome. Now within that, we should see our .plugin and the folder, and in that we can see all of our files. Awesome. Now, one thing I don't have, and I don't know if I need it, is a icon. So there could be an icon, and since there is an icon for this in the game, Oh, I guess I should talk to Wenda to get it. We could go ahead and lift that out.
How can I be of service?
Alright, let's drink that thing. So, let's go ahead and pull off subscriber buffs. This heart should match what we see in the wiki. Interesting. It's an older version. Is it? What's going on here? Oh, works for me. So, we're going to go ahead and snip that out into a file that we can use for our plugin. And we're going to use super easy MS Paint. It weirds me out that it doesn't snap the selection to grid when there's very obviously a grid, especially when it won't let me zoom in any more than this. Okay, so we can see that is indeed a 32 by 32 pixel icon, so we're going to go ahead and save that as a something. Oh, what do we need it to be? Lead tracker, resources, an ICO. Let's make an ICO file. Can we? What a great question. I assume the answer is yes, but since it's not offering it to me as an option, let's go into something that I think will. Okay, so save as. Sure. Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, Q plugins, subscriber. Let's go ahead and make a resources folder, which is pretty common to see. And then we're going to call it name of this. Oh, actually, I'll just do without spaces. Buffs reminder.ico and save. Oh, right. It wants to. Should be doing export as. All right. One more time. Oh my goodness. Why are you interspacing things like that? It's so weird. Plugins, Cube plugins, subscriber buff reminder, and resources. Sure. Okay, so for that, we need to have an image entry here. And what we're going to do is just look at the deed tracker version for that. We have a image. Really? Image. Right after description in there. So this is going to be an update to that. And I got a main icon. I don't know about that. Oh, I did a TGA before. I wonder if that'd be nicer. Okay, let's take a look at this. So we come on back here, we do a refresh, and we can see we get that heart symbol, which is the icon that we have for our subscriber buffs. Awesome. and is not the old one, which is interesting. It's possible. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if the old subscriber bus is still in there with the old icon, and when they bumped it to 2 weeks, they thought it was easier just to make a new effect that lasts for 2 weeks. I don't know. That's something to look into another time. But nope. That's fine. We have an icon now, and we don't need to keep that. Whoops, I closed it and I shouldn't have. So, documents, Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, Q plugins, and let's go ahead and get that subscriber buff reminder .plugin file. Okay, so now in our release we can see we do have the image. Awesome. And in here we have our resources with that. That is very funny. Okay. I assume that shows up. Yeah. Okay. Great. So we should be ready now to package up our zip files. So let's take a look at that. We have our subscriber buff reminders zip file, and we somewhere around here. Yes. Have our 1.0 files. And just remember, when you're doing this kind of thing, you want to go ahead and drag the Cube plugin folders into the zip file, because when we extract the zip file, we want to make sure that's the root. And we can test this right now. Let's go ahead and say extract to there. We can see we have Cube plugins now. Wait. We do not have that. Let me double check. Yeah, sorry. But when the LOTRO plugin compendium or something is extracting it, they're expecting the root folder in the zip file to be this, to be the root folder that's going into the plugins. So despite what I just seem to have convinced myself of, I think I'm doing it right. Okay, so we have our zip file. It has key plugins. It then has the plugin and the other stuff. We're doing great. I like that the zip viewer now shows you the compression ratio. That is neat. Okay. So I think we're ready to go. Let's go on over to LOTRO interface. And at LOTRO interface, we seem to be logged in. So let's go ahead and upload. So we're going to go ahead and do a new interface / add-on. So what is this category? It's a standalone. It is not class specific, not crafting, not creep play, not a skin. It seems to be other. Go! So we're going to go ahead and choose a file. Now we've already made it, so we're ready to go on that. Let me copy the path there. Choose file. Oh, we're already there. Scroll on down, subscriber buff reminder. Okay. Attach images. So we're going to go ahead and choose a file. Now this is actually going to be over in our other directory. This is going to be in subscriber buffs, in documents, images, bam. And the caption for the image. Window appears if you need to talk to window. It's time to talk to window. And we're good. So we'll close that window. We'll come on back here, click on Manage Images. We can see it's still there. Awesome. Close this window. Interface title. This is going to be Subscriber Buffs Reminder. File version 1.0.0. I think I will do a V in here, but let me double check what I do in other places. List my interfaces. Awesome. So, dtracker, version I just say, okay. File version 1.0.0. Description. This is where we've already typed it up, so we don't need to worry about it. And allow other authors to do patches? Sure. Why not? All right. Rules and guidelines. Do all these things, don't do all these things. Done. All right. Your file was successfully uploaded. Helps that it was super tiny. Your submission. Great. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to look at my list, my updates, and we can see that subscriber buffs reminder is pending, and that's fair. Now, how long does it take to move from pending to listed? The answer is between 0 and all of the time. Sometimes it's very fast, sometimes it's not. There's real people who have to take a look at it before they will approve it. However, it's on its way, which means now we can go ahead and look at the forum post. I like doing a post on the forums just to tell people what is up. So we're going to come take a look at the dtracker version of it and do a very stripped down implementation of this. Let's see. Older files. Sure. Just uploaded the initial public version, version 1.0.0. Of my new, very silly plugin over at LOTROinterface.com. This is a very simple interface, a very simple plugin that pops up a window when you log in if you have less than 24 hours remaining on your subscriber buffs effect.
About 0 or less. If you have 0 time or less than 24.
0 is less than 24. The redhead was proposing wording that encapsulates if you are missing the buff completely. So if you log in, if you have less than 24 hours remaining on your subscriber buff effect, or if you are missing the effect. That is all. I do want to see if I can get access to that image file. So we're going to go ahead and wait on that for a minute. And looks like I hadn't gotten the habit of doing patch notes there. So version 1.0.0 release notes. So what are we doing? I'll describe the basic functionality. Peanut says, hello, hello. All right, so, and I guess I could refresh over here and see if they've approved it yet. Nope, they have not. I do not know the intricacies of the process, but I suspect there's a slightly different process for new plugins versus updates to existing plugins. I don't know that for sure, though. Okay. Window. The plugin only checks for the effect when first loaded. If you have the effect and it will last for more than 24 more hours, it does nothing more. If not, it displays the above window. If the window is still visible when you gain the effect or refresh it, by drinking from the, what is that called? Subscriber's jug. It will auto hide itself. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's not going to save a new position on the screen. It could do that. It could save where someone moves it to, but that's the problem for the future. If anyone actually uses this and really wants that window to go to somewhere else, but the whole point is for it to be visible and obnoxious, and you can always just close it. Okay, so all right, so let's think about doing something else. My FTP stuff isn't restored on this machine. How funny. Okay, so can you upload images to the LOTRO forum? Let's find out. I use the forums so rarely, but as we've just seen, forums can disappear sometimes, so I don't really want the image to be hosted there, only there. Okay, so I've got like 7 notifications. We're going to go ahead and copy this in, but insert image. Yeah, it doesn't want me to upload it here. Okay, let's preview this. Okay, so we're ready to push the button on this once, where'd it go? Once this is ready to go. So what I want to do is, I assume, what's edit files let me do? Ooh. Oh, yeah. If I can actually... might be able to do something with that. Hang on. What's the format for these files? Okay. So maybe? Let's take a look at that. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, assuming they do approve the plugin, that image file should not change name, so I'm comfortable with that. So, I just uploaded this. It's a very simple plugin that pops up a window when you log in if you have less than 24 hours remaining on subscribe buffs, or if you're missing the effect. It only checks for the effect when first loaded. If you have the effect and it lasts for more than 24 hours, it does nothing more. If not, it displays the above window. The window is still visible when you gain the effect or fish a bit. It will auto hide itself. Perfect. That's it. So we're going to go ahead and post that. You know, though, if I construct the URL, what happens? Hey, okay. So let's go ahead and include that link as well. So let's go ahead and URL equals this. And I assume we need a close URL bracket. Awesome. So coming back over to the plugin forum, let's go ahead and edit this. Great. And we'll save that. That means anyone click in there can come over here. It's currently waiting approval. You'll only be able to download older stuff, which I assume is not. Okay, cool. So the last remaining thing I need to do is I need to reach out to Lunar Water, who controls the LOTRO plugin compendium list of installable plugins. And I'll make a note for myself to do that after the stream. Check in with Lunar Water about new plugin for compendium. So I've got a to-do item that will remind me of that. But that's basically it. So we've uploaded to the LOTRO interface. It's in the process of being approved. Nope, still pending. So we have this. We can double check that it looks good. Window appears if you need to talk to Window. It's time to talk to Window. Subscribe to us if you don't have a Okay, I think that's pretty clear. Neat. Okay, so no one's commented on it yet. Can you believe it? So we're going to go ahead and call that good on that. So I think we set out what we wanted to do at the beginning of this stream. We created a plugin whose one and only job is to check if you have your subscriber buffs, and if not, remind you to go get them. And nothing else. And we have released it over on LOTROinterface.com. Total time to do that, less than 2.5 hours. So that's pretty cool. And that's the neat thing about plugins for games, especially for Lord of the Rings Online, is they don't have to be these large, sprawling things. They can be something so silly as just check if you have this one thing and tell you if you don't. And one could imagine ways to make this more complicated. We've already talked about it. We could save where the window moves. We could make the window resizable. We could allow users to change the background or foreground colors of the window. All of that is complications on the very simple job of telling you it's time to talk to Window. So that's where we're going to start, and we'll see if anyone uses it and wants improvements. So with that being said, I think we're rapidly approaching the end of this stream. Now's a great time to get any last minute questions, comments, concerns you have into chat, so we'll have a chance to look at them before we're done. Otherwise, come back in 2 weeks and I will be back looking at something else, because I think I am done with this plugin forever. I believe I'm out of town next week though, so you will only see Little Redhead next Tuesday, not me. Wizik says, thanks in chat. You're very welcome. Yes, for anyone who is watching who does end up using this, I'd love to hear that, it's, filling a gap in your life, in your plugin life. If you find it useful, that'd be delightful to hear. Obviously, I haven't put a lot of sweat, blood, and tears into this, but it's always nice to know when you've made even a slight impact in someone else's playing experience. So feel free to comment on the forums or over on LOTRO Interface, or come back on a future stream and let me know there. Aloha says, nice job. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to refresh again. Still pending. Sometimes this takes hours, so let that be a lesson to you. Never release a plugin right before you need it to be live on LOTRO Interface. This can take all of the time, and usually will take minutes or hours instead of seconds. I have had a patch approved almost immediately, but the people who do the approving, besides being real people and not just a program, they have lives, they have jobs, they have whatevers, and so I try to only reach out to them if I have a real problem. For instance, I recently uploaded something and then uploaded a replacement for it within a minute, because I realized I'd messed something up within a few minutes. And then there was a long delay, and I was concerned that what I had done had broken or, done something to their notification system where maybe they did not get the message about the real one, and the one that they did get a message for, I had deleted that file. So I had that concern. So I reached out just to be like, hey, just so you know, this is what happened. And they were very kind about it. And it's yeah, No, they had something else going on in their life, and so they couldn't look at it right away. But yeah, otherwise, if you're just waiting, just give it 24 hours. If you haven't heard anything by then, that's maybe a good time to escalate to a message to one of the people who approves these things and be like, hey, did you see my thing? But usually it's just a real life thing. Refresh. Still pending. Hélas, what's on to? Okay. Well, all that being said, I think that is everything we are going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you all here 2 weeks from now. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.